Good morning, gentlemen. Today I wanted to make a little bit different of a video. This one's going to be a little bit different, but I feel like it's important for all men, especially young men wanting to kind of feel for their own. I feel like they all need to learn how to change the oil. Changing your oil in your vehicle is probably one of the biggest pride and joys that you can have as a young man when you own your first vehicle. And I'm going to show you the basics of how to change oil. You might need to look at specifications. First of all, find specifications online of what type of oil to use in your vehicle and what type of oil filter you're going to need. And then you're also going to want to know like what size socket wrench you need and things like that. But you can find all that information online. And I'm going to show you the basic steps just to kind of help you figure out how to change your oil. And this should be a pretty quick video. And then I've got a little fable at the end I want to tell you about. So make sure you stick around. And if you haven't already, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. I talk a lot about life in general, just the life of a man, and how to become a better man. And I also I'm going to start posting more videos about how to do certain things. So today I've got my 2004 F-150 Heritage Edition. This is a Ford truck. It's run me pretty good, and I change the oil in it every so often, probably less than I should. But I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really easy. Like I said, find the specifications of what type of oil to use. Mine uses what's known as 5W20 or 520. And first thing I'm going to do before I start anything is, of course, I warm the truck up. I've been driving it. You want to get the oil nice and warm. That kind of dissolves the sticky particles and helps it drain better. But then I'm just going to go ahead and take the oil dipstick out. The dipstick is usually yellow. Usually has a yellow ring on it. You're going to take that out and set it aside. Not going to need it for a while. And I'm going to go ahead and take the oil cap off. The oil cap is usually somewhere around where the dipstick is, and it's going to have a little oil indicator on it, just like that. And mine actually says SAE 5W20. That's the type of oil I need. So luckily, if I ever forget, it's right there. So I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to go underneath the truck, and I'm going to get a socket set, and I'm going to undo the plug. Now I also have an oil pan to catch all of the oil, because once you undo the plug, the oil just drains out the bottom. And the reason you take this cap off is to allow airflow to go through, kind of help it drain faster. And so I'm going to go do that. I'm going to jump underneath it. I'm not going to show you that because every oil plug is going to be in a different spot on most vehicles. On my truck, it's usually going to be right underneath the engine, and it's the most accessible one. It's at the very bottom of your oil pan, and it's really easy to access. So you may have to find specifications in your owner's manual as to where exactly that is, but it's super easy. So I'll get right back to you after I drain the oil. All right, so went under the truck there. And I got this this oil drain plug. Looks like this. And I got that off. So the oil is draining. It'll take a couple minutes to drain. Since I've been driving around, it's going to take a little less time. But I'll just keep checking on it. And it is always good to have some shop towels around. You can pick these up at AutoZone or whatever, wherever you go. I go to O'Reilly Auto Parts to get all my stuff just because it's the closest place and they have some of the better prices. But I'll get all this done and let that oil drain, and then I'll move on to the next step. And the next step will be removing that filter. So I'm going to remove the oil filter, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that here in just a minute. But yeah, let's just wait on that, I guess. All right, now the oil's all drained out. It took a minute there. I'm going to go ahead and grab my filter here, remove any plastic wrapping that's on it. Now, I want to make sure this fits here. So what I've got is they sell these things. They just attach to a drill bit, and it fits right over your filter, and it'll unscrew the old filter off. So your filter is going to be just underneath your engine bay. It's going to look just like this, sticking up. It's mine's in a little bit of an odd spot, but it's going to be sticking up like this. All you got to do is grab you something, some sort of filter wrench. I've got these filter sockets, but you can find filter wrenches or whatever, and you're going to unscrew it. And make sure you kind of hold it up, because oil will probably fall out of that. It might be a little messy, but it'll get the job done. So just find your oil filter underneath your vehicle and go ahead and remove that. Super basic, and I'll go remove it and I'll be right back. Alright. And my oil filter is in a very odd spot. It's hard to get to and it always makes a mess, so I'm just going to clean it off. But here's the old filter, and I was able to just unscrew it with my hand. You know, when you put the new filter on, you're not going to tighten it down with the same tool you took it off with. You're just going to hand tighten it, make sure it cases, you know, make sure it seats itself. Once it touches, you just turn it another quarter, and that's it. You don't want to super tighten these because the heat kind of seals it. So I'm going to put that in my oil pan there and grab my new filter. And what I like to do, which is what a lot of people like to do, they like to take their new oil, or sometimes I'll just take a little bit of the old oil, and they'll kind of dip my finger in there, and I'll just go along the edge a little bit, and there's a rubber ring, a rubber gasket ring, kind of get it in there, and I like to pour a little bit down it. Usually I kind of go about half, 3/4 of the way full. I don't like to get it super full because of the way that my oil filter screws back on. It screws almost sideways, so I can't fill it up all the way. But you want to get oil in that filter, and it's important so that when you start your truck up, you're not just pushing air through everything and having all these air gaps. So I make sure I go ahead and do that and kind of put the oil all around that ring, get it nice and oily, and I'm going to go ahead and screw the new filter right where I took the old filter out. I'm going to get it hand tightened, and so I'll just make sure it like touches. Once it touches, I'll give it 1/4 of a turn, and that's all I'll do. You don't want to get it too tight, but I'll be right back. Alright, now that I've put the old filter on, or took the old filter off and put the new filter on, and all the oil's out of the truck, I'm going to go ahead and put the plug back. I'm going to put it back, tighten it up, make sure it's good to go. So I'm going to go put that back on and I'll be right back. Alright, now I've already put the plug in. All the oil's drained out. I put the plug back. I put the new filter on. Now I'm ready to fill up the oil. So my truck, every vehicle takes a different amount of oil, and you can find it usually in your owner's manual or look it up online. But my truck takes 6 quarts of 5W20. This is the SAE basic oil. So I get mine from O'Reilly. I got 6 quarts of it. I got a 5-quart bottle and then a 1-quart bottle. And I've got myself a funnel. I'm going to stick the funnel down there, pour it all in. And since I know there's no more oil in there, I know that 6 quarts is going to be exactly what I need. So I'm going to fill that up and we'll get back to normal. So one thing I like to do is I like to put in 1 quart, and then I'll check the bottom, make sure nothing's leaking out. I'll wipe down everything, make sure I don't see any leaks, just in case I didn't put something on correctly. So I'm gonna go underneath the truck and make sure there's no leaks coming from the plug and no leak coming from the filter, and then I'll come back up here and pour the rest of the oil in. Alright, all looks well, so let's pour the rest of the oil in. Alrighty, and I put the alright. So I put the recommended oil, the amount of oil it needs, 6 quarts. Got that all done. Toss those out of the way. Now all I gotta do is put the dipstick back in, and I'm good to go. Now I'm gonna crank up the truck after I get done and make sure it's all running right. Make sure it might let it get back up to temperature, make sure all the oil runs through, Sometimes I like to let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes just so the oil kind of settles. All the new oil settles. So I'll put the dipstick back on, put my oil cap back on. I'll get underneath and check again, and just kind of make sure everything's good. And then I'm done. It's that easy. Alright guys, well, that's it for changing the oil. I checked my oil pressure gauge on my dash, which my truck has an oil pressure gauge, and looks good. Checked underneath for leaks, let it kind of warm up, get that oil flowing through there. Everything looks good. It took me about 10 minutes to change my own oil. If you're new to oil changes and you haven't quite figured it out on your car, might take you as much as 30 minutes, but that's only 30 minutes out of your time. Can save you a ton of money once you get the basic tools and everything. Oil change will cost you about $30. So let's say you go to the express oil change with this vehicle, with my truck. The express oil change is somewhere, I think it's like $59.99 right now to get the oil changed out. So it saves me a lot of money, gives me pride knowing that I did it and I did it the correct way. And but I wanted to talk a little bit at the end of this video. When I change the oil, I kind of like to think about things that relate to life whenever I do anything, really. And I was thinking about oil itself and how it relates to things in our lives. For instance, you pour new oil into your truck. After quite a few thousand miles, mine's every 5,000, so after 5,000 miles, that oil degrades. It starts to turn sour. And I started thinking about how life's kind of like that. You know, sometimes we hold on to things for too long. Sometimes we let things sit inside of us for longer than it should, and that starts to turn really sour. It could start to mess up, could start to bog down, just like oil. You leave oil in your car too long, it's going to start to bog down, gum up the engine, things like that. That's the same thing with maybe some hatred that's been said towards us, or things in our life that we're just holding on to. We need to learn to change that old stuff out and put something new and fresh in. You know, we take all that old oil out of the truck, we make sure it's all cleaned out, change that oil filter out, put a brand new oil filter in, and pour that golden oil right down. 5,000 miles down the road, that what we thought was good at one time has turned sour. Now I have to change it out again. It's all clumpy and black and burnt and nasty. And it's just a thought on life. Make sure you're not holding on to things for too long, especially when they start to turn sour. Something could be good, it could seem good when you first put it in there, but if you leave it in, if you keep it in your life for too long, it's going to end up turning sour. So just think about that, and I'll see you guys for another video tomorrow. But I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you later.